Did you know that the Romans, one of the most powerful civilizations of antiquity, had an obsession with conquering Babylon? But why? It wasn't just for the expansion of their empire, but for something much deeper, something related to the legacy left by one of the greatest conquerors of all time, Alexander the Great. In this video, we will discover what really happened when Rome, in its desire to leave its mark, faced the historic city of Babylon. Was it an easy conquest or something much more complicated? Join me to understand how the Romans, facing numerous challenges, temporarily managed to control one of the most iconic cities in history. And even more so, why did they leave so quickly? Before the Romans arrived in Babylon, the city had already witnessed multiple changes of power. In 529 BC, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which had been one of the greatest powers in the region, fell without much resistance to the Persian Empire. Under Cyrus the Great, it was Cyrus who defeated the last Babylonian king, Belshazzar, and took the city under his control. This event marked the end of an era for Babylon, but not its definitive fall. With Cyrus's victory, Babylon became part of the Persian Empire, and although it remained an important city, Persian control over the region was more of an administrative matter than one of pride or power. Decades later, one man would change Babylon's fate once again. In 331 BC, the great Greek conqueror, Alexander the Great, defeated the Persian Empire at the Battle of Gaugamela, opening the doors of Babylon to his empire. Despite the magnitude of the victory, Alexander's ambition was not focused on Babylon, but on expanding to the west, towards Greece and Egypt. However, Babylon was incorporated as a key piece in his empire, and during his brief reign, Alexander planned to make it the capital of his vast eastern empire. But after his premature death in 323 BC, those dreams of grandeur for the city were abandoned. After Alexander's death, Babylon was no more than a fragment of a fractured empire. Alexander's successors, known as the Diadochi, fought for control of his territories. Babylon became part of the Seleucid Empire under the control of Seleucus II, one of Alexander's generals. During Seleucid rule, Babylon suffered a slow decline, losing its political and cultural relevance to other northern cities, such as Antioch, which became the new capital of the empire. With the rise of the Parthian Empire, Babylon fell into a sort of oblivion, reduced to just another city in the vast network of territories controlled by the Parthians. As the Roman Empire grew, so did its ambition. In the early 2nd century AD, Rome was at its height of expansion, extending its power to every corner of the known world. And in this quest to secure the dominance of vital territories, Emperor Trajan stood out as one of the bold, known for his insatiable desire for expansion. Trajan aimed not only to consolidate the Roman borders, but to extend them even further, particularly to the east, where the Parthian Empire remained Rome's main rival. Mesopotamia, in particular, became a region of great strategic interest for Rome. It was not only about controlling trade routes crossing the area, but also about ensuring a strong presence against the Parthian Empire, which controlled much of the region. Mesopotamia was the living border between two worlds, the Roman and the Parthian. Whoever dominated this region would also control the routes connecting the east and the west, vital for trade and security. In 115 AD, Trajan, eager to expand the Roman Empire, decided to invade Mesopotamia. His strategy was not only military but also political, and knew that to maintain control over newly conquered territories, it would need a constant military presence. So, he advanced with his army, setting up garrisons along the newly conquered lands to consolidate his rule. Key cities in the region, such as Nisibis and Batnai, fell quickly under his power, and Trajan succeeded in securing control over a vast stretch of territory between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This advance meant that Rome, for the first time in history, had an official presence in Mesopotamia. And not only that, in 916 AD, The first Roman coins were issued to celebrate the victory, announcing that both Armenia and Mesopotamia were officially under Roman control. This victory became a symbol of Roman power, which could now proudly boast of its new frontier to the east. In 206 AD, Trajan, after securing control of several key cities in Mesopotamia, set his sights on Babylon. Although the city was no longer the powerful metropolis it once was, its historical symbolism remained immense. For Trajan, conquering Babylon not only meant expanding the borders of Rome, it meant connecting with the greatness of Alexander the Great and the heritage of the Macedonian Empire. Babylon, with its legendary legacy, was the perfect stage for Rome to demonstrate that its power rivaled that of the ancient empires. The advance toward Babylon began when Trajan crossed the Euphrates River heading north towards the region of Aben. As he advanced, his troops conquered several important cities along the way. However, the city of Babylon, which in the past had been a symbol of civilization and opulence, offered little resistance. Its political decay and lack of internal cohesion had weakened its ability to defend itself. In fact, some historical accounts suggest that the capture of Babylon was surprisingly easy. The Romans, in their unstoppable march, took the city without encountering significant resistance. Babylon, which had been the heart of one of the most powerful empires of antiquity, now fell under Roman control without putting up the expected fight. But for Trajan, this was not just a military victory, it was a symbolic victory. By conquering Babylon, Rome was not only seizing a city, it was claiming its legacy. In fact, Trajan did not cost settle for taking the city. He took advantage of his stay there to make a gesture that would further reinforce the connection between Rome and Alexander the Great. In a symbolic act, Trajan organized a sacrifice at the very spot where Alexander had died in Babylon. With this action, Trajan wanted to underline his position as the legitimate successor to Alexander's greatness, showing that Rome could match and even surpass the legacy of the Macedonian conqueror. Despite the quick victory and occupation of Babylon, Roman control over the city and the region was not long-lasting. The Romans found it much more difficult than they had expected to govern the city and the vast surrounding lands. One of the main problems was the scarcity of resources. Although the Roman Empire was vast and powerful, the lands of Mesopotamia were not easy to govern, and the military strain of such an extensive campaign began to take its toll. The Romans faced difficulties in maintaining a stable presence in such a distant and politically eclectic region. Additionally, local resistance was a crucial factor. The population of Babylon and other neighboring regions did not easily accept Roman rule. Local forces, along with the logistical challenges of maintaining an occupation in such a distant area, began to undermine Roman control. As tensions rose, Rome found itself trapped in a complicated conflict that seemed to have no quick or easy solution. In 107 AD, a dramatic event changed the course of things. Trajan, who had been the main driving force behind Roman expansion to the east, fell seriously ill. With his health deteriorating, he was forced to reconsider his ambitious campaign in the region. That same year, weakened and close to death, Trajan accepted a peace with the Parthians, which meant the withdrawal of Roman troops from Mesopotamia. The retreat was not just a matter of military strategy, but a direct consequence of Rome's difficult situation. When Trajan died, his successor, Emperor Hadrian, made a crucial decision. He decided to abandon Trajan's most recent conquests, especially in Mesopotamia, and focus on defending Rome's closer borders. This marked the end of Roman control over Babylon. Rome's dream in Mesopotamia quickly faded, and the city, which had been conquered so easily, lost its importance in the grand scheme of the empire. The Roman withdrawal from Mesopotamia, though a logical decision in light of the circumstances, had profound repercussions for both Rome and the region. For Rome, this retreat represented a humiliation. On one hand, it showed that the Roman Empire, despite its military power and vast size, could not maintain control over such distant and difficult to govern territory. Internally, the retreat was seen as a sign of weakness, an acknowledgement that the empire's borders could no longer expand in the same way. The retreat also had a significant political impact for the Romans. Abandoning Mesopotamia not only meant losing a key strategic position, but also dealt a blow to the prestige of Rome. The city of Babylon, once the center of one of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world, went from being a key point in Rome's ambitions to just another city on the empire's borders. For the Parthians, the Roman withdrawal was a relief, but also a momentary achievement. Although their empire was already in decline, the restoration of Parthian control over Babylon and Mesopotamia allowed them to regain some power and relevance in the region. However, this victory would not last long. Within a few decades, the Parthian Empire would also face serious internal challenges, leading to its replacement by the Sasanian Empire. Thus, the Roman retreat from Mesopotamia marked the end of one chapter in the region's history, but also the beginning of a new cycle of struggles for control. Rome, though defeated in the east, would remain a dominant power in other parts of the world. However, Rome's dream of establishing a lasting presence in Mesopotamia would be forgotten. The brief Roman conquest of Babylon is a clear example of how imperial ambition and history intersect at key moments. Although Rome tried and succeeded in conquering the city, logistical difficulties, local resistance, and internal problems ultimately led to their withdrawal, showing the limitations even of such a vast empire as Rome. Babylon, once the center of one of the most powerful civilizations in the ancient world, went from being a symbol of greatness to just another piece in the grand machinery of empires. But what does this story teach us? It reminds us that history is not just a succession of military victories. It is also marked by ambition, dreams, and above all, by an empire's ability to adapt and recognize its limits. The Roman withdrawal from Mesopotamia was not just a defeat on the battlefield, but an acknowledgement that no matter how great Rome was, there were boundaries it could not cross. Now I ask you, what would have happened if Rome had managed to maintain its control over Babylon? How would the history of the region have changed? Leave your opinion in the comment. If you enjoyed this journey through Roman history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content about the great civilizations of the past. I also leave you here a video suggestion where we explore more about imperial ambitions in the ancient world. See you in